Is the Tesla Model Y worth all the hype? I think if you ask 100 people that question, you'll get 100 very different opinions, ranging from the really quite fanatical to the really quite level-headed. Today, I'm going to test drive one and tell you exactly what I think. I'm here at the Grid Serve Electric forecourt in Braintree, and as part of their test drive experience, I'm going to be test driving this Tesla Model Y. If you're interested in buying or leasing an EV and you want to drive a number of them back to back to see what you might think without all the spiel from the salesman, Grid Serve now offer where you can sign up, you can come along to an electric forecourt and you can drive the cars that you're interested in. I definitely think you should check it out. But on to the Model Y then. Is it worth the hype? So here it is then, the one you've all been waiting for, the Tesla Model Y. Let's take it for a drive and see what it's like. I think the first impression when you come in here is that you have stepped into the future. This is unlike any other car I think I've ever got into. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of people, have a strong opinion over having this one central touchscreen that does absolutely everything, and maybe they're not a fan of that, but I think it's pretty cool. You've got everything here you could ever want. Take a little bit of getting your head around. I'd say that, just jumping in for a test drive, there's no way I'm going to get my head around all the controls and stuff, but it's certainly very nice. And it's got to be double the size of the screen that was in the Polestar 2 when I drove that. But, it's fairly straightforward. You've got a big map on one side, and then you've got the sort of car stuff on the other side. So your speedometer, what it thinks the speed limit is in your location, how much range you have left. This particular car is the Model Y long-range dual motor. We're about 90% charged, and we're showing a range of 321 miles. And what that's actually like in the real world, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure EV Database will have an opinion, so we'll insert that once I've had a look. And I think the other thing I notice as well is just how huge this car is. There is massive amounts of space in here, front and rear, and obviously that huge boot as well. So yeah, there's huge, all the room you need in here really, I think, for this sort of class of car. You're looking for a big SUV, this is the one that you want. And of course it can get itself down the road very well, and I've not got it in any kind of like sport mode or anything like that. It's just set up standard. I don't know how much control there is over the drivetrain settings. I'm sure I can put it into some kind of mode that will make it accelerate even faster, but it certainly doesn't hang around. It's made a little bit bouncy, I'd say, in terms of the ride. The first impressions, yeah, the ride's a little bit bouncy, a little bit choppy. Literally just got out of a Polestar 2 and into this. And I say the ride definitely doesn't feel anywhere near as disciplined. Now, obviously this is an SUV, not a saloon. I don't know if the Model 3 would be a little bit more sort of disciplined on the road. But I definitely think a criticism would be the ride does feel a little bit choppy. Now, I know that it's a dangerous game saying anything even remotely negative about Tesla, and I'm sure people come for me with pitchforks in the comments, but at the end of the day, this is a real test drive. I've never driven one of these before. I've just jumped in it, and I'm driving it just like anyone else would for the first time. So we'll go with this being purely opinion based, but I would say the ride is a little bit choppy. We got a little bit of slight rattle from something in the back. I don't know, it might be the bag I've put in the boot though, rather than anything else. So wouldn't really be too fair to properly call that one out, I don't think. I noticed that the cameras on the car must be recognising the traffic situation in front of me. So at the moment there's two cars and a lorry in front of me, and I can see that on the screen as well, which is bizarre. I know that would be a core part of like the sort of either the autopilot or the full self-drive. But it's strange. I find it strange that it just presents that information to me all the time. I'm sure if you regularly drive a Tesla, you'll tell me that, well, they all do that, and that's perfectly normal. It's a bit strange at first. It's pretty cool though. It also seems to be showing me the output from the rear camera all the time too. I'm not quite sure why that is. Seems it shows me the output from the rear camera when I'm going a bit slower. So when I speed up, it turns that off. I guess that's a good thing. It'd be quite distracting. The seat is certainly comfortable. I've got no complaints at all in that department. I mean, I'm sure this is some kind of synthetic leather product. I don't think it's actual leather, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as hard and plasticky as like the MG ZS EV, which, you know, was fine for the money and exactly what you'd expect at the price point. It definitely feels much more supple and more like leather than that was, but I'm still not 100% convinced that it is leather, which some might say for £55,000 plus you would expect. Now, obviously, if it is real leather, I'm sure you'll hang me for saying that it might not be. But it feels nice enough. I think it's well appointed enough in here. And there isn't anything particularly, you know, low rent and nasty about the cabin. And I think Tesla may get a bit of a tough time from people on like quality, build quality and material quality. It certainly feels premium enough in here. I really like the wood trim along the dash as well. I think that's just a really nice touch, because some people associate like wood trim with being old fashioned and stuff, but in here it looks bang up to date, dead modern. I think it looks great. I'm sure some people disagree. I'm sure some people change it or get it wrapped or whatever because they don't like it. Obviously people have been customizing cars however they like for a long time, and that's definitely going to continue well into the electric era. I do, like, at all times maintain the sense that this is a big car. It's got the big massive windscreen, and then obviously the panoramic roof above me certainly makes it feel bigger. It almost feels a little bit like an MPV because of all the glass and how big it feels. I mean, it is a big car, but it certainly feels very light and airy though. You know, you drive something like, you know, the Audi Q4, which I think is a direct competitor for this. You know, some people tried to tell me that the full fat e-tron was the competitor for the Model Y, and I don't agree. I think the Q4, in terms of your size, specification, price, you know, that's definitely where this is in terms of its competition. But this just feels like it's a much nicer cabin to sit in. Everything about it. It doesn't have that like hemmed in, you know, feeling you get from a lot of German cars, but definitely the Audi Q4 in particular. It feels much nicer, much bigger, much lighter. I bet it would be really nice with the light leather interior rather than this black stuff, which obviously I know is quite an expensive optional extra, and it's probably an absolute nightmare to keep clean because it is white, but it would look really cool in here, I think, because it would be really light and airy, and you know, it already is with all the glass. One of the big reasons you're going to even be remotely thinking about buying a Tesla is the supercharger network. And whilst, you know, they've opened a little bit of it up to all vehicles, it still is the big draw. You know, the strategic locations throughout the country. You can plan a journey using the sat nav. It'll tell you where to stop the charge because it knows how much battery you're going to use along the way. It can tell you if the charges are available. You can turn up, you plug in, it automatically connects, it bills you straight away. No messing around. And that, it really still is Tesla's USP. I think they're maybe eroding it very slightly with opening up of the supercharger network to all EVs, and I think over time that appeal might go away. But right now, 2022, if you want that seamless experience, you probably do still want a Tesla. And think about them what you want. I mean, I know I knock Tesla sometimes in some of my videos, but it's some Tesla owners that I can't stand. I mean, some people, they really do, you know, worship the Church of Elon and they can do no wrong, and I don't think that is the case at all. Do I think that they've done an awful lot to aid EV adoption, and do I think their products are definitely worth a look? Yeah, absolutely, there's no doubt about it. This is a really cool car, there's no doubt about that. But do I think that it's the be-all and end-all and you shouldn't consider anything else? No. Definitely think you want to look at the whole of the market. I think you want to look at everything that your budget extends to in the class of vehicle that you're looking at. And unless you really do need to be tied to the supercharger network, which I think at the moment still some higher mileage drivers do, then you would be foolish to discount the competition. If you're choosing between an Audi Q4 and a Model Y, buy a Model Y, 100%. But if you're looking at other stuff, you know, do your research, take some test drives. And if you want to test drive multiple vehicles back to back, there'd be no better way to do that than to go along to the nearest grid serve electric forecourt. See, at the moment, your choices are quite limited. You've got Braintree or Norwich, but over time, as they open more, you'll be able to do that throughout the country. Being able to just go there without the pressure sales and without being tied to one specific manufacturer and try all sorts of different, will really let you get a feel for what you like and what you don't like. And I think if you are going to lease, where you very much or just order your car and it turns up, you know, you don't get the sort of pre-sales experience, then these types of facilities and that GridServe are now providing are absolutely invaluable, because you can decide what you like without having to salesmen who you know, ultimately you're going to annoy a salesman if you turn up to do a test drive for a car that you're then going to lease through another company, and whether that be GridServe's own leasing arm or someone else, or maybe through your company car provider at work. You know, this type of opportunity is a much easier, much less hassle way to test a bunch of EVs and decide if you like them. If you're dead sure you want a Model Y, even if you've never driven one, then buy one. Who am I to tell you that you shouldn't do that? I think you should try stuff, but I mean, if this is what you want, if you're Tesla through and through, and I know loads of people that are, buy one, just do it. It's a nice car, I do really like it. Would it be my 55,000 quid? I'm not sure. But at the moment, I don't know what I'd recommend instead of it. As you know, definitely not an Audi Q4. You're still not selling me though. And this was a short test drive, don't get me wrong. People have taken I'm sure taken much longer time to review the cars and decide if they're for them. And you know, a long-term test would maybe teach me otherwise. But from this short test drive, is it that absolute game changer? I think if you're relying on the supercharging because you're doing huge miles up and down the motorway network all the time, then yeah, it probably is. Although GridServe, obviously, are going to great lengths to make that type of experience available to everyone. The electric forecourts are a great start, and obviously what they're doing with the electric highway now, you know, creating electric hubs services, which, let's be honest, do rival superchargers for the sort of the availability, the high power charging. And, you know, they're definitely changing the game. It's not a one-horse race anymore, I don't think. But this was a very short test drive of the Model Y, and I do really like it. But I'm not sure that I'm a fully paid up member of the Church of Elon just yet.